We return for the fourth year in a row to the International Engage Show 2024 at the Warwickshire Event Centre. As we walk through the entrance, we are greeted by Colgate, which surprisingly is an Engage. This is brought to you by the Bridlington Model Club. Holgate is representing the East Coast Main Line just south of York Station in the late 1980s, just before electrification took place. Although an artistic licence has been used with some of the scenic area, the track plan is as it existed at the time, and the two distinctive bridges have been faithfully represented. Here we see a HST passing by a Freightliner on its way towards the station. Now, it's quite possible I might get copyright struck on this video because there's a couple of familiar engines running around the layout playing a familiar tune, which is quite delightful for children, and the boy particularly enjoyed it when he got to drive Thomas.
I've even done it into Toby. I haven't done him on yet. The trouble is, the speaker is so small, you can barely hear it. So I'm waiting for him yet.
Here we see the famous blue tank engine himself as an Azuma passes by in the opposite direction. We move on to a bit more grown-up engines now, shall we say, as a Britannia runs in one direction with a Pullman train and an A4 passes by with some lovely linear teak stock. And as we round up our visit to Holgate, we see a pair of 37s on an empty steel train and a DMU running by in the other direction.
We've got a stoppage around there.
We move on to look at a funicular railway from South Germany to England. This layout will set different scenes along a typical modern German electrified main line. If you follow it, you'll pass the monastery of Blaubaron, fields, rivers, farms, a typical train depot, and an impressive steel bridge with a funicular at the side, as we can see here. At the end of the tour, you make a turn at Stonehenge and Bodmin Castle. The concept is an end-to-end traffic with a Millfield Yard feeding the main line with changing trains. Here we see the depot modular board with a working traverser and a small diesel shunter moving the regular locos around. As we continue to watch over the depot, we catch sight of a fuel train passing by on the main line.
You want that? You like it? Yeah? Fantastic, yeah?
We then take the opportunity to follow an Austrian passenger train around the various modulars of the layout, getting to see all the sights and sounds of what's been presented today. And there really are some wonderful modules here, and some beautiful modelling. And if you look closely, you'll see that old Thomas the Tank Engine has got over onto this layout too. He was everywhere at this show, and I mean everywhere.
I struggle to see that actually.
Here we see the train wind round the castle before coming back on itself and passing a drone airfield and a sports field. Plenty of fields to see. Even a traditional one with sheep. We move to Denny Road. Denny Road was built in lockdown so N-gauge stock could be run. It has 3 lines to run mixed stock. It runs DC on the inner track and DCC on the outer track. And there's a lot to see. Here we have an overview of the town, bus depot and station, and also a freight depot in the background. On the side of the layout is a smaller station with a shed. And now we come to Hither Green PAD. Hither Green PAD is loosely based on the engineering sidings located towards the rear of the diesel depot during the period between 1985 and 1995. The stock is a mixture of ready-to-run, kit and 3D models. The owner of the layout explained to me how the majority of the engineering prototypes on this layout are 3D prints. The crane that you can see there and the tool van following it, that's a 3D print. That engineering machine you can just see there, I'm not even going to pretend I know what it is. It's also a 3D print. And the others at the front, such as this tamper here, and the DMU you could have seen in the previous shot. I also enjoyed the use of angled lines that come off the baseboard, such as here where you can see the depot line coming off. And in the background there's a 101 DMU on what I assume is the main line going behind the sidings. They don't actually go anywhere, but it all adds to the look of the layout, whereas the focus is the yard. We move further north to Cucknoe. Cucknoe depicts a fictitious cross-country route somewhere in rural Northamptonshire between the era of 1956 to 1962. Many former lines have provided inspiration for this layout. In fact, the track plan is that of Stoke Burren on the former Stratford-upon-Avon and Midland Junction Railway. Here we catch a glimpse of a Class 31 on a van train, which is closely followed by a private owner engine sneaking along the line. Well, it's doing along British Railways territory. Who's to know? And now we go even further north to Long Hirston. Long Hirston is a freelance tabletop modular layout built by the Northumberland Area Group of the N-gauge Society. It is computer controlled by JMRI and operated from tablets and mobile phones. Recent additions to the layout include a working power station, coal exchange shed and automated shunting, which can be seen a little later in this clip. We've explored the power station side and now we move to the other side with a slightly industrial feeling from one end of the layout to a more town approach to the other. And a zoomer crawls by the industrial area back towards the Freightliner depot and power station, whilst a Class 66 with a rake of car carriers runs in the other direction.
Revolution are going to make them.
Sorry?
Revolution are going to make them.
Revolution are going to make them?
Yeah, it's an R-bell set.
Oh, right.
The 66 moves towards the town and passes a Class 70 on a fuel train whilst running in front of a grand-looking castle. It moves on and passes a brewery before finally reaching the town. But we're not done yet with this layout as we move to the other end, passing a Barry scrapyard style-esque scene. Going over level crossing, a Class 156 makes its approach towards the station. Passes the cricket field before passing the steam engine shed. It's quite surprising to be still around. Maybe it's run by a preservation society these days. Who can say? The Class 156 pulls into the station, but our attention is caught by the approaching Class 37 on the ballast working as it races an LNER HST. Under the control of the boy, an LNER Zoomer passes over the level crossing and makes its way towards the station. I've got to say, I really do enjoy this approach that many of the exhibitors are now doing by having someone stand at the front with an iPad and offering to control the trains to children. It really does get them involved and helps the enjoyment of the hobby. So kudos to you if you're doing
that. We did a couple between these models.
And we conclude our visit at Old Hirston by observing the automated shunting which is happening at the Coleman's mustard factory in the corner. And now we come to North and South. No, not that horrendous band from the 90s. This is on one side a small halt north of Inverness, served now by a single track, and where the original station buildings are, they are now private homes. On the other side, Broadwater Junction in Devon, based upon, with Modular's licence, Don Brecken's painting of it. Modern and heritage stock navigate hilly, challenging countryside. We now come to Barton. Construction of Barton commenced in 2017, and the layout was completed for the First World War centenary in late 2018. Depicting a rural station on the North Eastern Railway Selby to Goole line, this layout is displaying trains for the transport and the production of war materials from the surrounding area bound for the front line. There's even an airship, although I don't think I've caught it on the camera. Barton has a lot to see, a lot of detail and a lot of scenery. So let's just take a moment just to appreciate all the hard work the owner has put into this layout. We move on to St Caths, a village and civil parish in what is today known as the East Lindsey district of Lincolnshire. Mainly set in the late 60s to early 70s in the British Railways green era, although the odd blue era loco and DMU can also be seen. There's a Class 14 that can be sometimes seen shunting in the goods yard, to and from the brewery. In fact, we might just catch it in a moment doing such a thing. Whilst the Class 14 shunts the brewery sidings, we catch a glimpse of a Class 24 passing by with the freight working. Surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of American N-Gauge this year, but T-Track Extravaganza has got us covered, and here we can see the famous big boy passing by on what I can only assume is an excursion, with a very lovely set of Union Pacific yellow coaches following behind. The modular layout is from the Wiltshire Five Towns, a group of the N-Gauge Society, showing what is probably the largest T-Track layout exhibited in the UK. It is some 26.5 metres in running length and comprises of some 32 modules in a 35 by 12 foot L-shaped configuration. The layout, as you can see, is being run as American on this showing. Now here's a concept that's new to me and I haven't seen modelled before, High Speed 1. This is Choates Lane. Based on the East London and the High Speed 1 line from the Channel Tunnel to St Pancras International, the period is 2025 and into the future. Eurostar no longer has a monopoly on High Speed 1 and other companies are running trains to St Pancras International, plus freight trains running through from Europe and beyond.
How did you do that?
Here we get an overview of the layout, looking from what appears to be an aggregates and cement works based on many that you can find around the London area, looking out towards a busy dual carriageway, in which a yellow Porsche has had a bit of an accident and traffic is building up on both sides of the road. Our final shot sees a Eurostar thunder by to either France or Belgium as a Class 67 hauls some cement tankers around the top line. Back in Germany, West Germany to be more precise, this is Bad Durkheim Ost. This is a small branch line terminus in West Germany. The layout is an imaginary station at a real venue. The railway operates both steam and diesel traction. And that can be seen here as the steam engines arrive with a passenger train, a diesel departs with some logs. With the diesel gone, the large tank engine detaches from its coaches and runs round its train, preparing to go back to where it came from. Now here's something for those of you who like to sit back and just watch the trains run, because this is one up on just watching them go round and round. Winkesea Modular Automation. Seaside Winkesea, famous for its Art Deco station and pickle works, is the start of a modular layout focused on the automatic running of trains. Using both JMRI and RockRail to provide computer control for multiple trains with live timetables and schedules. Here we see the automation in action, as it starts with a Class 108 in BR Blue arriving at the station. closely followed by the Class 24 in rail technical livery, coming into one of the other platforms before shunting into a siding. The 108 departs as a 121 arrives. The 121 is sitting in the block section waiting for the line ahead to be given the all clear before moving into the platform. We now move to Shirebrook, a layout which I first saw at the DEMU exhibition last year in Sutton Coldfield. If you want to see more of this layout, then have a look for that video on my channel. It'll be under the 2023 layouts and exhibitions. The blurb says that this is the final exhibition of Shirebrook, so I don't know what's happening to it now. Maybe it won't be seen again, which is a shame. It's a wonderful layout. It depicts Shirebrook Depot during the 1980s. All the stock is weathered, some is modified. The depot station buildings and bridges are all scratch built. And for anyone who loves a Class 58, there are plenty on this layout. I think at one point there's 6 in shot. We catch a Class 37 on an engineer's working, as in the other direction a pair of Class 58s arrive at the depot, totalling the number outside, as I said earlier, to 6. Once they've come to a stand at the station, the 58s reverse into a siding out of the way.
You're right, Harry.
Further along the layout to the junction, as a Class 45 pulls a steel train past the signal box. We finish our visit at Shirebrook with Class 28 passing by on a coal working. Let's take a trip to the seaside and visit Broadwater Junction. This is a watching the trains go by layout, inspired by various coastlines on the west coast of Wales and England, such as the broad expanse of the Dovey Estuary in Wales. It has DC control with points operated by Seep motors. Here we see a BR Standard pulling an express passenger train along the line. Passing by in the opposite direction is a Great Western 56XX on a stopping service.
There it is, isn't it? No? There it is. You just run up the rear with this. Maybe you just did then. Come on, do it again. Yeah. Maybe you've just done.
try it again, Pete. Try this.
With no real setting, the layout can jump from one side of the country to the other. We can be in the Great Western Territory, straight over to the Eastern, and as we are, with Green Arrow thundering by on an express. We manage to position ourselves by the bridge as a Deltic slowly trundles along the line with a freight. Hardly work worthy of a Deltic, but there we go. As we reach the bridge, an unidentified Jubilee passes with a passenger service in the opposite direction. And as the tail of the freight passes over the bridge, an ex-Great Western rail car comes to a stand at the signal. Now we come to Smalldale Quarry. Smalldale was a small village situated between Buxton and Chapel-on-the-Firth. The quarry is now a popular rock climbing area. The layout is not based on the quarry, but is a depiction of what it could have been like between the 1970s and the 1980s. The key features of the track plan are a free platform station, the quarry, a spring water bottling plant, riding stables, and a small maintenance and refuelling depot. As we glance over the layout, we see a fuel train departing one direction and the 47 with the passenger stop departing in the other. We're over the border and into Scotland for Inverkeithing. Inverkeithing is the second station after crossing the Forth Bridge into the Kingdom of Fife and is situated on the north side of the Firth of Forth. It was chosen as it has the greatest number of stopping services on the line through Fife, as can be demonstrated here with a Class 68 departing in one direction and a ScotRail 170 unit arriving in the other. It does its station duties and shortly departs. Of course, not everything stops here as an LNER Azuma passes through the station. However, passengers don't have to wait long for the arrival of a ScotRail HST. It's a whistle-stop tour of Market End. This is a DCC engaged layout with 2 full working loops and a branch line that runs up to the upper level, with a small market and shops. There are lots of buildings on the layout that have interior details and lighting that adds realism to the layout. We're on the southern region with 3rd Rail at Millfield Yard, set in 1985 to 1995 BR Rail Freight and Network South East period, when there was still a good variety of locomotives and liveries about. The layout didn't disappoint to demonstrate such things, as a res liveried Class 47 leaves with a parcel working, passing over the yard and the viaduct out towards the main line. This single track of line going over the viaduct is a very busy piece of railway, as once the parcels are departed, a Class 73 in the very splendid Pullman livery arrives with a Pullman service at the station. Next, a Class 319 in Network South East departs, heading for either Brighton or Bedford. With the 319 out of the way, the Class 73 is able to be released from its coaches and run round its train, getting ready to depart back. Another 319 arrives at the station from Brighton or Bedford before an inspection train departs in the opposite direction. The saloon is in the very lovely intercity livery.
Last week we recorded.
We're almost at the end of our video of the show. Unfortunately we missed Brinklow, I do apologise, but if you do want to see it, it is available in one of my videos from last year, the Milton Keynes Model Show 2023. But this is our last layout. This is Ashfield. Ashfield is a fictional small town station within the Great Western region. The period is the 1950s to the 60s. The layout is a single line continuous run and is controlled by DC analog. The track plan is loosely based on Ashburton with Pico Code 55 track. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have so, please click the like button. If you want to see more, click the subscribe button or just comment below. All these things help my channel grow and other people find it. So, thanks in advance for doing so. Hopefully you will come back and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. Oh, you're still here? Then why not watch another of my videos? There's podcasts, layout, builds and exhibitions, so there's plenty to choose from.